There we go.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Felice Cellini. We have a low internet connection. My name is Dr. Felice Cellini, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. And this is our Sunday morning Why Wait for Recovery community meeting. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, good morning. My name is Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I am a compulsive overeater. I'm an emotional eater. I am a food addict who opted to have bariatric surgery 2 years ago, and I'm a drug addict in recovery, which is the most important part.
The recovery part, the drug
Right.
addict part.
Yeah,
I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic in recovery. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for being a part of our recovery this morning.
So we get together twice a week to discuss what the solution is and how it works, and we two friends in recovery just having conversations with other friends who are either in recovery, stepping into recovery, curious about what addiction is and how it can work for them. So we are called Why Wait for Recovery. All our discussions are within the realm of our experience, strength, and hope. We're not affiliated with any other fellowships out there, even though we give kudos to them for helping people get clean. We work with everybody, cross addicts, anyone who is addicted to anything. That addiction to us means drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, people, cigarettes, anything that we start getting that mental obsession about that ends up with us feeling guilty and ashamed and demoralized because we can't stop. So we talk about the solutions of how do we change that paradigm.
Yeah, we do, you guys. And like Katie said, so we're not affiliated with any of the A groups, and we do give a shout out and kudos to all of them for helping so many people stay clean. What we do focus on, majority, is obesity recovery. There's a reason why we got the way that we were, and so we're going to talk about what it is, what's going on with our thinking that keeps us in active addiction. And we talk about how actually the food isn't the challenge, or the drugs or the alcohol, that's our really poor solution to what we think is our problem. And in the beginning, we actually have no idea of what our problem is. And so we're going to talk about how we're feeling, how to change our perspective, how to get some acceptance, and then how to stay in recovery once we're abstinent.
So the way we meet up is in different ways. One is you can either join us in the room physically in South Florida if you live here. We will be moving to Davie on Thursday, so welcome. We meet up Thursdays and Sundays. Or you can also join us online in our waiting room. And the way to do that is, at the moment, we are on Facebook. It's called Why Wait for Recovery. Pop onto the events and you get a code and you step into the room. The third way is you can live stream us on YouTube, Why Wait for Recovery, or on Facebook. But however you reach us because you not only allow us to be of service because you assist us in our recovery, but also we love being in community with other people who are working to just improve where they are and learn something new.
Yeah, and that's how we stay clean, right? Is being a part of the community. So welcome, everybody. And today we're going to talk about living our life beyond the scale and what that means to us. And so the majority of us know what it's like to diet, and we know what it's like to lose weight, and we know what it's like to gain weight, and we know what it's like to starve ourselves, and we know what it's like to binge and to purge and to do it all over again, and to convince ourselves that this time it's going to be different, except it's never different. It's always the same. And the only thing that's going to change that is stepping into some kind of recovery. And I'd like to, do you have anything else to add before we go around?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the things that we, as a person who is a food addict, my life always revolved around a magic box. And the magic box was that scale. So I'm the person who has tried every single diet in the whole wide world because I thought that if I could just get it right this time and do it the right way and have enough willpower and really be good enough, then I'd be able to stick to it and I'd become thin and I'd become happy and everything would be perfect. Except that isn't really the way that it worked. Really, for me, that scale, that little magic box that could determine whether I was having a good day or a bad day, because the minute I stepped onto it would go, you are in for a fabulous day, you're down 1 pound, or shit, you really screwed up and you've gained 2 pounds. And then I'd be shouting and screaming at everyone and feeling like a piece of crap. So really what life looks like is beyond the scale, because for me, if I keep doing the same things over with the same thinking that got me to this point, nothing is ever going to change. So yes, I had bariatric surgery. I lost 150 whatever pounds. Over my lifetime, I probably gained and lost over 600 pounds. But the thing is, for me, that wasn't the mile marker. The actual weight is not the part that is important, because no matter what that weight is, it never ever made me happy for a long period of time. It's really the shift in thinking and that spiritual recovery that has become so pivotal in my world. And really, that is what we want to focus on. So if anyone out there has issues with their scale, welcome, you're in the right place.
Yeah, and so that's what happens. And so we think that if we can lose some weight that we're going to get some happy. And it doesn't work like that, because whether I show up at 400 pounds or 125 pounds, I still show up with myself. And so my thinking and my feelings and my not understanding what's going on inside of me, and that need to either stuff myself or starve myself, is still there, no matter how much I weigh. And so it's finding out what it is, why it is that I'm stuffing myself. What feelings am I trying not to have, which is usually like all of the feelings that I have. Whether I'm happy, I want to be happier, and if I'm sad, I don't want to feel that, and if I'm scared, which I am most of the time when I'm in active addiction, I'm scared and I stuff myself, and so I'm scared, and then I stuff myself, and I'm scared, and then I stuff myself. And so it's breaking that cycle and understanding why we're scared, what we're afraid of, understanding that nobody dies of scared, you guys. Nobody does. People die from obesity, but they don't die from scared, right? They just want to die from scared. And so it's finding out what's getting us scared, and how to work through that, how to understand it, work through it, so that we don't have to use.
And also, I think there's a component of realizing that we are here today. You know, the one thing that we start losing every second is time. You know, we're not here forever. We've got a limited time on this earth. And why not choose to be happy, or be able to enjoy that time that we are here and make the most of it? Because if we were here to be miserable, I don't think that was my purpose in life, you know. And really, as I spent so many years and so much time living in my room and living in my head, that I missed out on what was happening around me and the amazing things that there are. And recovery helps us shift that paradigm to actually enjoy the movie as it's happening, not if things look perfectly. You know, if things were perfect, my life would be perfect and everything would be perfect, and 10 years later things are never perfect, and I've missed out on those opportunities. So really, it's learning how to live happy and be happy in the moment.
Yeah, it's learning how to live with gratitude, and learning to look at what we have and be happy for what we have, and come from that place of abundance, as opposed to coming from a place of lack and what I don't have. And it's learning to live right now, not in yesterday, which I can't change anyway, or tomorrow, which is just a story that I'm making up. So I'd like to go around the room and hear from everybody. And we're going to, Miss Nancy, good morning. So I told you last time, because we didn't get to you, is that right? We didn't get to hear from you, that we would hear from you first this morning. So good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Okay.
I really don't have anything to share.
Okay, that's okay. And so, good morning, and we're glad you're here. And if you have anything that you do want to say, just give us some kind of signal, and then we'll go ahead and call on you.
Okay.
All right, thanks so much, Nancy. Sarah W., it's good to see you this morning. How are you? Oh, we have two.
Good morning from New York. How are you?
How are you?
So I've been avoiding a live meeting for about 8 months now.
I know.
Welcome. We're so happy to see you.
Thank you very much.
And you did it. Most importantly, you did it.
I love this community. I do my gratitude list every day. I watch every single meeting, but I am unfortunately not really in recovery.
Okay, fair enough.
And therefore my abstinence is really not stable.
Okay, and so remember, we get abstinent first so that we can clean out that stuff in our head. And so I'm going to ask you why you think it is that you're not abstinent.
Because for me, willpower doesn't exist.
Well, willpower doesn't exist for anyone, or every single addict could be locked in a room, get their receptors clean and then will themselves to stay clean. It don't work like that, right? It's willingness, not willpower.
Right. The only thing I could really say in the recent past is I had 6 weeks of abstinence.
Okay.
And then I attended a party, and someone told me you can have what you're gonna have, and you'll be good tomorrow. And of course, I did that, and it's really been a struggle ever since then. And what I learned from that is never, ever, ever, ever pick up.
Okay, so here's the thing, that's true. And what you learn from that is that you're an addict.
100%.
So we wanna hear our own truth, right? We wanna be true to ourselves. And so for me, to rephrase that as, you know what, I was abstinent for a while and I didn't feel like staying abstinent because I'm an addict. And I didn't feel like staying abstinent, and I found someone to give me an excuse to use. And I knew what I was doing, and I did it anyway, which is, you're an addict, an active addiction. I did it anyway, and this is where I am today. And so when you talked about, and thanks for sharing that, because the stuff that we do, you know, they say every time I picked up on a lie, right? That lie being a lie that I tell myself that allows me to convince myself or manipulate myself enough where I feel comfortable stepping back into active addiction. And this story that you're telling, and I could hear Dawn sighing, right?
Yeah.
Is a story that anyone who's relapsed, including me, has told themselves. And so it's about staying tight with your community and understanding for you that actually no needs to mean no. And that, not that you have willpower, but that you're willing to do whatever it takes to stay clean. And so we say this every meeting, recovery isn't for people who want it, because just about everybody wants it easily. And it's certainly not for people who need it, because every single addict in active addiction needs recovery. It's for the people who are willing to do the work. Laura, are you real happy that you're clean right now?
Not happy that I'm clean.
Yeah, no, she's not. I mean, you know, she stays connected to community and says, it sucks right now. Like, you know, I had somebody over and I didn't get high and I didn't eat and I didn't do some Valium and I didn't drink, and I don't even know like where I am as this person right now. But she has the willingness to reach out to the community, to be here and not to pick up. Sarah, there's a reason why, you know, statistically they tell us that 3 out of every 100 addicts are going to stay clean. Will stay clean. And I can promise you, we don't know too many of them that do stay clean without recovery. And so such a small amount of us are going to stay clean. Decide that you're going to be one of the really small amount of us that's going to stay clean. And let me ask you a question. We say that we reward ourselves, right? Well, I've been clean for 6 months and I'm gonna reward myself, and I'm just gonna take this little bit. And what are we rewarding? You know, what do we get out of it? Did you feel better the next day when you screwed up your 6 weeks of abstinence?
I felt like shit an hour later.
Okay, so let's think that through. And so just like little kids do stuff without thinking it through, we need to think through, what does it look like on the other side of that using? How am I going to feel in an hour? Might feel great right now, and then I get to go up on the Facebooks, tell everybody that I relapsed. I already feel like crap about myself. I felt like crap about myself probably for a really long time, and that's why I'm in active addiction, right?
Yes.
Stop it. You know, stop it, and don't just stop and stay abstinent, but stop and step into community and get some help. Talk with like-minded people that are going through what it is that you're going through and get some help. Mm-hmm. Right? You deserve that, right?
100%.
Yeah, remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So this reminds me, in the beginning, Felice and I would have these discussions, and I'd say, you know, I used and I feel terrible. I just want to also say something. Relapse isn't everybody's story. It is part of my story. But I would say I really felt terrible. And she goes, okay, so you feeling really bad about yourself. you go and you use, it's like picking up a bat while you're down and you're out and beating yourself up to make yourself feel even worse, even though you're feeling bad. So the thing is, when I started thinking of it in that terms, it's like punishing myself and hurting myself more. Is it really worth it to me? And it took a while for me to process that, because I know one thing for sure, it wasn't willpower for me, because I love my kids so much. There's nothing on this earth I do for my kids or my husband, because I absolutely adore them. And no matter how much I love them, and no matter how much I was killing myself, because I really was, I was grossly obese and I was killing myself. No matter how much I loved them, I couldn't stop doing what I was doing with the way that I was thinking at that stage. I just knew something was wrong. So it was never a question of willpower, because if it was willpower and if it was love, I could have just stopped at any stage and stayed stopped. So those were like a couple of aha moments for me. And also opinions. You know, everyone's got opinions. We say that opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. But we know in our heart and in our soul what is really good for us. And no matter what people are saying, when we pick up, we choose to pick up. And we use what other people are saying to justify it, because I know, because I've been in that place before. The last time I relapsed was because I put the stuff into my body. It wasn't because anyone held a gun to my head or forced me to do it. I made an active decision that I am going to use now. And I actually even planned it 2 weeks before I picked up, knowing that I was going to pick up. So I think that's all part of the process, but nothing, you know, we didn't become addicted overnight. You know, it's something, I wasn't an addict and realized it straight away. It's been a process, so be gentle with yourself. You know, but no matter what, don't pick up, because things are far worse the minute we pick up and we start using.
And you know, Sarah, another thing, when we relapse and we're back in active addiction, another thing that happens is we get to look at our addiction as opposed to looking at what's going on inside of us. And so now I can be upset and obsessed with what I'm using, when I'm using, why I'm using, how I feel about the using, as opposed to how I'm feeling, so that I can help, get help to understand what it is that I'm feeling, so that I can change what it is that I'm doing, right? And so now it's so much easier just to pay attention to the fact that I'm in active addiction. Stop. You know, you had 6 weeks abstinent, so we know that you can be abstinent. So be abstinent and stay in community. And congratulations for telling on yourself, because that's really cool. And that's something that the faster we tell on ourselves, the easier it is to step back into recovery. Because it's, you know, we all feel that shame. We feel shame while we're in active addiction. We felt shame before we were in active addiction, and when we relapse, we feel shame times 1,000, right? And so we have to at least get past that, where we could, you know, pick up our hand and say, okay, I'm gonna take the foul, this is what I'm doing, I'm gonna start over. It doesn't matter what happened 2 seconds ago, Sarah. There's nothing we can do about it. But what's gonna happen right this second, what, you know, as far as what foods I'm gonna put inside of myself, I'm in control of that. So be in control of that. And good job you for stepping into community.
And I see Dawn nodding her head. Does anyone else want to say something about our discussion that we're having now? Because it's really pertinent to so many of us. What are you
We're talking about relapse, and we're pointing to Dawn. Poor Dawn.
Well, I was in and out of recovery for 10 years before now. Now I'm in recovery to stay, hopefully. The shame thing is absolute. There's no question about it. I lived in shame and guilt and fear pretty much my whole life, and then used to mask that, but all it did was exacerbate it.
Right.
So picking up is never the answer. And it does progress, it does get harder every time you relapse, no matter what it is that you relapse with, or whatever addiction you have. Every time that you go back out, it gets worse.
Yeah.
And harder.
Yeah, it
So
does.
interesting.
Yeah,
and that's
thank
so
you.
true. Thank you, because some
Yeah.
people never make it back.
So good job you, Sarah. We're really glad that you're here this morning.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
so proud of you. Welcome.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing. Jess, Miss England?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah. I'm here.
Okay.
Not saying I'm okay, but I'm here.
Yeah, I know that you're not okay. Is there anything that you want to share, Mama?
I don't know how relevant it is, but yeah, I'm in a lot of avoidance at the minute, probably. Yeah, there's a situation I'm going through in my life which is causing a lot of grief, sadness, and fear, and there's anger there, obviously. But I'm sort of avoiding it at the moment. And what I do know is that I'm obviously abstinent in one program, but I'm not abstinent with the food stuff.
Okay.
Say food stuff. What I mean is that there's obviously feelings and emotions underneath all of that, and the situation is putting me in an awful lot of fear about losing what I have. Yeah, and just losing myself. I mean, I feel like I've lost myself partly already, but I feel like I'm going to lose myself even more after I make a particular decision that I'm making in life.
Jess, do you see a therapist?
Not at the moment, currently, no.
Okay, if you can, I'm going to advise you to, if it's available to you, if it's something that's available to you, so that you have kind of a safe place where you could talk about whatever it is that you need to talk about. Sometimes, sometimes our therapists don't have to be the best. I love people who don't go to therapists because they say, "Oh, my therapist didn't understand me." Okay. Anyway, find another therapist, and in the meantime, sometimes it helps for us just to get out. We talk about being sick because we don't talk about what it is that we need to talk about. Sometimes it's okay just to get it out with somebody and hear yourself process. And of course, it's always better actually when you can get that help. I know that you're going through a lot, and it seems like stuff that you don't want to share, and that's okay. I know you, so I know if you're ready to share, you will. I'm really sorry that you're having a hard time. I know as far as abstinence and food goes, I know that because it's not your addiction or not what brought you here, you feel like that's really not your problem, but you're talking about it. So, and you're talking about it and you're eating emotionally? Are you eating emotionally?
Sorry, yeah, the sound's gone a bit crazy, but yeah, no, I did hear that. Yeah, it's obviously it is emotional eating.
Yeah.
It's either I restrict it or I will have a binge on it. So.
Okay, yeah. So if you're binging or restricting, you got a problem, right? And so the admitting part, okay, you just admitted you have a problem, and now it's time to change it. Because remember, we're not going to be in recovery from one while we're in active addiction in the other. Recovery isn't about not picking up the food, Jess. And it's not having sex with 50 people this week, and it's not about not eating 700 milligrams of opiate this week. It's not about that. It's about how I'm feeling. And obviously with you, there's something going on with you that you need to work through it. But hiding behind the food or restricting isn't helping you work through it. It's just keeping you in active addiction and giving you one more thing that you can feel out of control and ashamed and crazy about. Right? Okay, and if you want to talk more, then let us know.
I would like to also just say something. Jess, firstly, I'm really proud of you, and I'm so happy to see you here today. Makes me smile. Some people have asked me about the therapist. Some people say therapy is too expensive, and where do they find it? I just want to give you, there are resources out there. Some of the universities and colleges offer free therapy. Look in your area, do a search of what free therapy is and who the therapists are, because many areas all around the world offer that service for free as part of learning collaborations with local colleges. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, thank you. And you guys, again, when we talk about willingness, you're talking about doing something kind of simple, right? Doing a Google search. How do I get the help that I need? I can promise you, if there's a pair of boots that I want, I got no problem being on Google and looking for those boots, right? If there's something that you need to help yourself out, do it, right? Immediately we go to Google for everything. Mm-hmm. So what Heidi's saying is true. Find the resource, and you're in England, so maybe they have better resources than we do here. But yes.
And I also just want to say, one of the things my addiction does, my brain does, I've got a really screwed up, crazy brain. It will tell me not to do the things that are good for me and tell me that doing the things that are bad for me are okay and that's what I should be doing. So generally when it comes to doing stuff that I know that I should be doing because it sounds like it would be better, I get all that resistance from myself and I started having a million discussions of why should I, why shouldn't I? It took me a long time to get into therapy because I fought it the whole time.
Yes, she did, by the way.
I did, and it
I
took
will attest to
years.
that.
I'm not just talking weeks or days. It took me years to do it. The same way as it took me a long time to embrace doing service and other things and doing courses and workshops and whatever. It was my brain going, no, don't do it. Even getting up and walking to do something for 3 seconds became an obstacle. So sometimes when we start getting that tired feeling of that overwhelmed and really not having energy to do something, I have to stop and recheck where that's coming from. And sometimes I do stuff not because I want to, because what I really want to do is get high and use. I do stuff because I know that it's good for me and I just need to get it done.
And you know, you guys, that there's an expression, you know, I was frozen in fear. And I've been frozen in fear. And it's a really horrible place to be. And what happens when we're frozen in fear, or I say, you know, when we're stuck and sick and scared, which is where you are right now, Jess. You're stuck and sick and scared. And so again, it's going to be, you show up here, right? You're a part of community. Take the extra step. I know that you have willingness. Take the extra step to do whatever it is that you need to do to get yourself spiritually well. You know, to get yourself some happy. Okay? To have some acceptance for what's going on around you, for understanding what it is that you can and can't control, right? And understanding with your family and with what's going on around you, the difference between acceptance and boundaries. Get some help with that because I think that you need help with that. We all do, actually, but I think that you're in a place right now where you need to have an understanding of what's okay for you and what isn't okay for you, correct? I think that might be what we're talking about here. So do what it is that you need to do, because I know that you're willing to do it, but I know that you're super scared. So, and you guys, when we're super scared to do something, the way to get over that fear is to do it, right? Even though we don't wanna, it's just to do it. And to see that, you know, we didn't die. You know, I made a phone call and I just made a phone call, right? And on the other side of that phone call, perhaps is something that's gonna help me get well.
And
Okay.
we can always stop doing it if it's not working.
Unless we're an active addiction, and then it's harder to stop doing it if it's not working. So thank you, Jess.
So you mentioned community. So at the moment we have our community on Facebook. It's called What's Eating You. It's a closed community for members only. There are 3 questions to join. We're going to be moving onto our own website within the next week or so, and we'll have our own forums there and our own membership. So people have been a little scared about going and discussing things because they think their friends will see it. If you're in our group, it's a closed group. Only members can see what you're posting. So you have to be a member. So if one of your friends is a member, they're there for the same reason as you are.
Right.
Just so you know. But go sign up, join What's Eating You. Recovery is so much easier and makes so much more sense, and it's such a great support if you are in community, and it's more long lasting because everyone there is sick. I mean, we're all in the same place, and we're there to love each other. We are non-judgmental, we don't care where you came from, how you got there. That's not our issue. Our issue is getting well.
Yeah, and you can use the community as much or as little as you want to.
Right.
You know, you could be super involved, you could be not involved. You could be really involved this week and don't want to be involved for the next 3 weeks. That's up to you. But just knowing that it's there and that you can reach out if you need to and that there really are people that will help you through. That's kind of a cool deal. So thank you, Jess.
Does anyone want to add anything to what we've been discussing now? Because I know it's a big topic.
Okay. Yeah, it's our Sunday morning bunch. Okay, good morning, Miss Liz.
We can't
Good
hear
morning.
you.
Why can't we hear Liz? She's unmuted, but we can't hear her. We still can't hear you.
It's
It's
your
your side, baby. All right, we're gonna come back to you. So see if you could fix your mic for us, please.
And then put your hand up.
Or both hands. Do
Yeah.
whatever you want to do. Karen, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm figured out that if I am focused on an activity or a task or a set of tasks, I'm much better off. Otherwise, I live in low-level anxiety, which just feels like I'm standing here shivering. And that's a terrible feeling. It's why I've spent all my life basically in addiction and, trying to fix it with eating and being involved in other people's chaos and all of the stuff. So I'm currently focused on a pretty big task, a pretty big project, and it's just it helps me to stay focused and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, so a lot of addicts, especially addicts, once we're in recovery, are super overachievers. We were overachievers while we were using, right? Because we did whatever the F we needed to do to stay in active addiction. And my hope for all of us, and what you're saying is true, I don't really do well if I have nothing to do all day either.
Yeah.
And so for me, the more things that I feel like I have to do, or the more accomplishments I have through the day, the better I feel. It gives me less time to sit with myself. And at some point, you guys, when they say comprehending the word serenity and knowing peace, at some point we actually get peaceful and we can sit without the anxiety. We could sit and just listen to music for a half hour. Other people meditate. God bless you, people that could do that. But also that you will find that the more acceptance you have for what's going on in the world around you, the easier it will be for you to have some quiet time and to just be, and to understand that our anxiety, again, is a feeling. It's just a feeling, and that feeling's going to go away. Just because I'm anxious about something right now doesn't mean in an hour or in a day that I'm going to be anxious about it. Right? And so getting through that anxiety and saying, okay, right now I'm feeling some anxiety, and that's okay. I'm going to change my mindset. You say change a muscle, right? I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to read a book, or I'm going to write, or whatever that is that you're doing. And then in time, you'll actually be able to have some time while you recognize the anxiety and be able to take a couple of breaths and know that it's okay. We're so used to not feeling anything. We're so used to stuffing every single feeling that we have, that a little bit of feeling is uncomfortable for us. A lot of times, no matter what that feeling is, right? What you said, Karen, I can promise you that every addict right now is shaking their head. So, and that does come with time. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's a really good piece for people to write in about if they want to. Because I know that at some point, every single one of us has felt that way. And most of us are doing what you're doing. So keeping super busy. I'm just trying to reconnect it. There it goes. Thank you so much, Miss Karen. And Miss Karen, you changed something up a little bit, right? Did something that you wouldn't have done in the past to reach out to people in your family and your friends, and without the fear, or even with the fear that you've reached out, and every single time you did it turned out great for you, correct?
That's right. It's surprising, and I don't know why I'm surprised, but I always am. And and it feels so good to do that. And it's like, duh, why didn't I do it, years ago, eons ago?
And duh, why didn't I do it years ago or eons ago doesn't serve you.
True. True.
I'm amazing because this is what I'm doing today, that serves you. Right? Same thing, different perspective. Right?
Absolutely.
I'm
You're
cool.
right.
Like, I'm one of the cool kids. Look what I did today. I'm going to get that bicep exercise as Susan says. Hi, Susan. Best
Right.
one ever. And pat myself on the back. Yeah, so you're doing great. So we talked about, Karen and I talk about that quote that says, if you had 3 minutes to live and one person to call, who would it be and what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? We don't always have the next second, but we have this second to pick up the phone and call somebody and say, you know what, I'm thinking about you. We don't even call people anymore, we text. To tell somebody, I'm thinking about you and I love you. I'm grateful for you today. Thank you so much. I think that you're doing a great job with this. What is it that we have inside of us that we hesitate before we do something so wonderful like that? What is that?
I don't know what it is, but I must tell you something. Yesterday it happened to me. Can I just share something that happened? So yesterday I get into my car and it's dead. And I'm thinking, oh, I've got to call AAA and it's going to be a 3-hour thing and I've got all the story. And then I think, go knock on the neighbor's door. And that's what I did. And they jump started me. And then the car stopped again a bit later. And I called my husband, which is normally I'd be sitting there and fuming and going, why the heck did this happen? And what did I do? Within 20 minutes, like everything was sorted out. New battery, new car. I mean, like everything was working okay. And in the past, I would have sat there. It would have taken me 3 hours and I wouldn't have asked for any help. I would have tried to work this out on my own. I would have been upset with AAA that it took them 2 hours to come. And would have been all this chaos. And sometimes just doing it and not listening to those thoughts and just saying, okay, they're just thoughts and letting them go and just doing something has surprising results. I mean, I was amazed.
Yeah, and Hattie's actually talking about going one step beyond that, right? And not just reaching out to people and letting them know how we feel about them, but also reaching out and asking for some help. And her head didn't explode either that she asked for help, correct?
Right.
And it feels good afterward. And I'm proud of you, Karen, for reaching out to your family and to the peeps that you hadn't been reaching out to for why? Why? Because we're scared, right? What's fear? Not getting what I want or losing what I have, right? And so I'm going to send this to my son and he's not going to respond well and I'm going to feel bad. Except that's not why we send it to our son. We send it to our son as a random act of kindness because that random act of kindness or service allows us to feel good, right? Allows us to put some positivity out into the universe. So when we're paying somebody a compliment or telling them we love them or we appreciate them or thank you, we're putting some positive energy out into the universe. And that's never wrong. And if we don't expect anything back, right, we let it go. And then whatever happens on the other side, we know that we're not in control of. And you've done that a whole lot. And the plus, the gift back to you was what was given back to you. But that was just a gift back to you. And that wasn't your intention, right? We worked through that, so your intention was just to do it.
Right.
And yeah, and that's a big growing up thing, and I'm super proud of you for doing that.
And what I got back was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was a gift.
Yeah, it is. So good for you.
You know, this also reminds me of a couple of weeks ago, you lost a family member and you said you wish that you had spent more time with them. And the time that we give of ourselves to our family actually helps them get to know us better. So that hopefully they don't have those questions at the end, that they actually got to know us on an intimate and personal level and got to know us for the people that we are.
Yeah, so
Because, yeah, I end up thinking, well, don't they know I love them? Well, how are they going to know if I don't tell them?
Right.
yeah, and you
So,
said
yeah.
that. Yeah, we're not supposed to know. And believe it or not, I can't read Laura's mind. I talked to her, I've met her, I know something about her, but reading her mind, knowing what she wants, and knowing how she's feeling at this moment, the only way I know that is if I ask her and she tells me. Right?
So you also mentioned asking for help. So we've been getting a lot of people asking for help, and that is one of the reasons we're doing the workshop on the 25th.
We are.
Right, and this is a place, you know, one of the most difficult things for an addict to do is just to ask for help. For anyone who's struggling at the moment, step into the workshop. It's not a whole day. We're talking of 2 hours of your time that you could learn something about yourself, that you could maybe open the door to other opportunities, to be able to learn something about a new way of life, of being able to maybe find a solution to work through whatever you're struggling with at the moment.
Are you talking about willingness? Oh, we're talking about
that's
willingness.
it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
sure. And Ange had a question.
Yes, we have a question from Laura. We're going to get to you in a minute. Andrew, we have a question?
Yeah. Two questions I'm just going to combine. Somebody says they're new here and they don't understand what you mean by abstinence, and then how do you begin recovery?
Okay, so abstinence is staying clean of our drug of choice and any other mind-altering substance. And so the 2-second version for obesity, recovery, binging, all of that stuff is rice, bread, potato, pasta. Any starch and any sweet is going to touch the dopamine receptor, touch that receptor, and it's going to keep us wanting more. Same receptor as crack, except that they say sugar is 7 times more addictive than crack. And so we got to put down the crack or the sugar, whichever way we ingest it. And so that's the abstinent part. And then getting into recovery is being part of a community. We do have workshops. We have this community. We have these meetings that are for free. And it's about learning. Recovery is about learning who I am and how I feel, and how to live, really. I mean, recovery for me taught me a different way to live, completely different way to live. I understand that my entire world is just my perspective, right? So at the end of this morning, I can look at 40 things that went awesomely, and I could look at 40 things that went horribly, and whichever one I do is my choice. And if I look back at my morning in gratitude, I'm going to be a happy girl. And if I look through the morning and try to find what it is that was wrong with my morning, I'm going to be a miserable bitch. And those choices are my own. And changing our perspective is what's going to allow us to stay in recovery.
So recovery for me is not only the perspective, but it's the reaction. So the two things I can control, it's my perspective and my reaction, and I'm learning why in the past I reacted to things the way that I do, and that's the journey of discovery and transformation, and have different choices today of how I react to things now, and that's part of recovery. And one of the things that we discussed is anyone who signs up for the workshop, we're giving them the abstinence diet in a sense, and what are the things that to abstain from. So if you signed up for the workshop today,
Awesome.
we're going to send that to you as part of the free gift.
Awesome. Yeah, and so we'll give you a better understanding of what it is that is going to touch that dopamine receptor that's going to keep you in active addiction, make it impossible for you not to be in active addiction. So Ms. Dawn, we heard from you a little bit. I'm going to hear from Laura, and then we'll get to Ange and you, and let me know, Ange, if there are any other questions. Good morning, Laura.
Hi.
What's up, girl?
So, when you were saying a little earlier, one thing that's been really helpful about workshop for me, there have been a lot of things, obviously, but one is the fact that I can process and say things to this group, and it helps me start to understand myself, which has been really powerful. The past number of days, though, I don't know why, something has triggered me for sure, like in the past week, because it's like, how Brene Brown talks about that vulnerability hangover. Mm-hmm. Like she talks about, you're vulnerable. Like I come to our group, in the world, I'm actually pretty together. Like people, I have my house together, I've got my work together. People come to me with their stuff, their things. I'm here and I'm a hot mess, right? I'm here and I'm freaking out about somebody coming to my house and having just all these things. And I've noticed that I become, the past week, I'm having a hard time with all of this. I'm having a hard time feeling like a hot mess.
So here's the thing. I love that you said that on the outside world that you're all together and your house and you're this and you present, you look good and you speak good. That's not your authentic self. Yeah. That's what you show to the world. That's our ego, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think Liz's opinion of me is. And that Liz's opinion of me is more important than my opinion of myself, because I don't got no opinion of myself except for a bad one. And so you present out in the real world as a together person, and so we should. I can't go to work and be falling apart. I'm not going to be able to do my job. So I have to keep it together there, whether I'm pretending or not, correct? And so what happens is we're going to fix our insides. So eventually our insides and our outsides do match. That we're not just happy and together on the outside, but we're happy and together for the majority of the time on the inside. And that's the part that sucks for you to get to. Because you're so used to being Miss Perfect on the outside, and a lot of us are, Laura, where we're in, you have a certain face in the community, right? You have a certain face in your job. You make a certain amount of money. You have a house that looks a certain way. And all of that stuff for people who don't like to feel nothing is very comfortable for us. Mm-hmm. I have a great job and I have a beautiful new car and I have, friends and I have this, and that's the stuff that I have on the outside that has nothing to do with me. It has to do with my job and my paycheck. Mm-hmm. What has to do with me emotionally and my own authentic self and me learning to change my perspective so that I can be happy, that's what's going to allow me to get out there and actually be happy, not just look happy. Mm-hmm. Right now, you're going through this. You know what? You have to remember that you spent quite a while not feeling anything.
Yeah.
Just looking a certain way, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're going through this, well, this is happening, and I'm talking about this, and I'm sharing this, and I used to say to my therapist, why do I need to do it? Why do I have to do it? If everything on the outside is perfect, who cares what I feel like on the inside? As long as I'm not using, right? I'm not picking up, and everybody else thinks I'm okay. And I'm going to tell you what happens is that eventually we're not okay. And eventually we're going to use, because that's our go-to, that's our default, that's our Google. So if we don't work through the shit that put us there in the first place, we're going to be right back there. And that's the difference between abstinence and recovery. The abstinence part, we can all stop, right? It's just it's easy to stop. It's hard to stay stopped. And for us to stay stopped, we're going to need to have some type of recovery so that we can be happier, so that when we are feeling something, we don't need to use to stuff those feelings.
Yeah. And
that's what we do. We use to stuff those feelings. We eat that Valium to mellow out, right? And she's like, yes! And and perhaps not even remember that much, right? We drink so that we're a blast on the outside, and it doesn't matter how we're feeling on the inside. And it's all bullshit. And so at some point, we do become authentic, at least with ourselves, and then we learn that it's okay to actually get happy, not just present happy. Or to feel miserable, because you know what, Laura? You're feeling like shit this week, and the earth didn't open up and swallow you up.
Yeah.
Right? That's that whole, I talk about feelings aren't facts. They're feelings. They're okay. You're not going to die from feeling like shit. You're just going to want to use. And so it's understanding where the feelings are coming from so that you could work through them. Mm-hmm. Right? And we'll work on that more. Yeah, so you guys, what Laura's talking about is really, it's great to do the workshop, and we do all this heavy duty stuff in the workshop. We really do. And it's going to, for a lot of us, be the difference between staying in recovery or going back to active addiction, because we are going to get to the crux of what the problems are. And then it's working through those problems. So are you willing to look at your own life and say, this is how I'm feeling. I need to understand why it is that I'm feeling that way so that I could work through it. And it's a lot of work, and it's so much more worth it to be happy.
I'd love to also just put in my 2 cents, because that's what I do. So I stuffed my feelings for so long that it took me a long time, firstly, not only to identify them, but I don't know if you remember, as a kid, I grew up with Aladdin, the story. So it was like that little lamp. So it was like shoving feelings into this little lamp. And the minute I started discussing them, it's like all of them started coming out. So in the first 90 days, it was really overwhelming, because I'd been stuffing stuff for so long, I didn't know what I was numb. And when they started coming out, I started feeling like I couldn't do anything. Those first 60 days, I started feeling so ineffectual that I was just overwhelmed. There was a lot of stuff for me that came out, and it becomes easier. We bottle things up for so long that it's a learning process, just firstly to name them. Even finding a name for an emotion took me time, because I had good or bad. And then all of a sudden, I just got all the stuff. It was so much easier being numb, because I could just carry on and pretend everything was perfect.
Right. Pretend.
And it was all the pretending stuff. But honestly, the feeling stuff, I felt empty on the inside. And the only way really to start feeling spiritually full is to start stepping into honesty and that integrity. And the only way we really can start doing that is if we're honest with ourselves to start working on that. And that's a process. It doesn't just happen, and it's not fun, and it's difficult, and it's really so absorbing. It takes that triangle of self-obsession for me was very, very real in different ways. This became a triangle of, wow, why am I feeling this? Why am I doing this? It became like I was under the microscope constantly by myself for the first 60 days.
And that still comes up.
Right.
You and I have conversations, and you're afraid to say something, and that still comes up, right? And you show your fear now. right? You cry a little bit, or you act a little nuts, or whatever,
Right.
and you work through it, and then you feel better. And
Right.
so that stuff is still gonna come up for us no matter how much recovery we have. It just gets a whole lot easier. So instead of sitting in that stuck and scared, working through that stuck and scared, it makes our life so much happier.
And instead of being in that place where I'm stuffing and not dealing with things in front of me, then I start saying things that I don't mean and acting in ways that I really feel uncomfortable with, and treating people in ways I don't want to, and looking at other people's chaos, and start doing all those things that start putting me down the path to picking up again, because I'm not working on my recovery.
Yeah, and so Laura, it ain't easy, man.
No.
And they say, you know, nobody said that it was going to be easy. It's just going to be so worth it, you know? Right? Susan, again, shout out to you. You know, Susan always says transition sucks, but it's awesome when you get to the other side. And right now, you're at the beginning of working your way through to the other side, and it's going to be real hard, and I commend you for doing it.
And you know, the most courageous people I've met ever are addicts in recovery. Like, people working on their recovery takes so much courage, it takes so much strength, it takes so much willingness. I learn so much from everyone every time I ever meet him.
Yeah, thank you. Laura, thank you. And every single person that's listening, whether they're in addiction, in active addiction, or whether they're actively in recovery or kind of making the transition, has gone through that. So it doesn't make your crap any easier. It's just the way that it is. You know, it's like taking the physics class that you really don't want to take because it sucks so much, because you have to study so hard, and you have to get tutored, and you can't sleep, and you have to go through all of this stuff so you can pass the exam, and then you can go on to be what it is that you want to be. Right? So yeah, so thanks for sharing that.
And you mentioned something else about the workshop as well. You know, the one thing, we all come from the same place, that we feel like we're struggling with something. A lot of us feel broken, a lot of us feel empty. We, within our workshop and within our community, it's that safe space. It doesn't matter what we say, because very often we'll identify with other people's stories. When people share, we often can see ourselves in them. And sometimes our stories give someone else the courage, or they can identify with it, to start working on their own recovery, or to start questioning where they are. So that's why it's such a safe place for us, because we're able to connect with other people like us. We're not alone.
Yeah. I don't know what that was. Ange, is there anything that you can share this morning? Nothing? She's always surprised when I call her. Anything that you want to add?
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, cool. Ahmed, anything you want to add this morning?
So-
Okay, so if you guys feel like adding anything, please pick up your hand and let us know.
So we're almost coming towards the end. So I'd like to just mention a couple of things. We always talk about service. I'm going to come back to you. We talk of service. I just wanted to, and gratitude, and I just wanted to say a quick shout out to Anjali and Ahmed, and also to General Provision, who's given us this amazing war room from
Thank you.
agency and General Provision. Thank you for your time. Thank you for enabling our meetings to happen and reach so many people that we do. And we really are extremely grateful for it. Dawn, you wanted to say something?
No, actually, I'm okay. I could say, though, that, you know, sometimes I forget my first 60 days or so.
I don't.
I mean, I remember, you know, well, I forget that I had a period of real fear.
Yeah.
In fact, the day that I got out of rehab, before I got out of rehab, when they were discharging me, I was crying because I was so afraid of getting out and going back out, because I had done it so many times. So a lot of fear about that, and that fear continued for, you know, a good month or two, and a lot of anxiety with it. So it's a very real thing. And, you know, eventually it subsided, but, you know, I remember what got me into recovery, but I forget sometimes that those early couple of months when I was so afraid of relapsing.
You brought up a really interesting point. You know, people join us having come out of rehab, and some people joined us in rehab as well. we really are the next step. So we also help you stay in community to work on your recovery. That's one of the things our community does. So if you're just out of rehab, if you are dealing with you're not quite sure what your addiction looks like, if you're in recovery, no matter what you're using, you're in a safe place. Welcome everybody. It's good to have you. We need you here.
Yeah, and you guys, in the beginning, after you're abstinent, and you do go through your first 60, 90, for me it was longer than that days, you know, I was petrified. I was petrified. It's like, okay, now I'm not using, now what? Now what happens if I have a good day or a bad day, or if it's Thursday? Like, what do I do? And how do I live this life where I'm gonna have these emotions and these feelings? And how do I live this life without my brain just exploding? Because, you know, we all say, right? And it would have been a lot easier to go through rehab if we could have been high. Like, it's really, you know, to learn to feel the things that we're feeling, and not stuff those feelings with whatever it is that we were using. And learning that it's okay to have those feelings, and understanding from others that we do recover. And I want that to be the takeaway from our meeting today. We do recover. Will we always be physiologically, are we always going to be addicts? Yes. Does we do recover mean that I can drink and you can eat cupcakes? No, not unless we want to be back into addiction. Spiritually, do we get some happy? Yeah. Do we understand how to get through life better? Yeah, we do. Do our insides match our outsides better? Yeah, we do. Is it nicer to wake up in the morning? Shit, yeah, man. It's so much nicer to wake up in the morning. And that's my hope for you guys. And that I want that to be everybody's takeaway for today, is that we recover. That recovery is possible. It's just we got to be willing to do the work to get there.
And I have...
Did you want to say something, Ange? Can I have Ange talk real quick?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Just when Dawn was speaking, I was thinking that it's really true. Well, for me, it's true that you forget where you came from. And a lot of times when we're working on my recovery with you, you'll say, "Don't you remember when you used to be like?" And I'll kind of, not that I'll forget, but I forgot in the moment. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
So anyone who's got a smartphone or a computer, we have a request and an opportunity to be of service. Please go to YouTube, Why Wait for Recovery, WEIGHT. Please subscribe to our channel. We have all our old archives of all the meetings we've ever done. And it just helps us reach more people, because the more people that subscribe, the more people see it. They don't see you personally, it just logs within YouTube. Our goal is to reach as many addicts as possible, because recovery is possible and no one should be struggling alone. And we have 2 minutes left. So can we just say 25th of August is our next workshop. It's a 2-hour workshop. It is awesome. The learning is incredible, and it is definitely worth it to step into it. And we meet up again on Thursday. We'll be in Davie. Come to the room if you're local. Dan, you want to take us?
And I'm going to read from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous called Promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. And that self-pity, you guys, we have, right? Especially in the beginning when we talk about our 60, 90 days, lots of it. We will lose interest in selfish things. That's how we get rid of some of the self-pity, and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. That's with our change of perspective. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that the universe does for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We don't think so. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but they do always materialize if we work for them. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. My name is Dr. Felice Cellini. Thank you for being a part of my recovery, and thank you for joining us this morning at our Why Wait for Recovery Sunday morning community meeting. And remember, we do recover.
My name's Haiti, and I'm so blessed and grateful to be with you today. And I just wanted to say to all the cool kids who joined us in the room, Love you guys. It is awesome having you here. I'm just always amazed at how courageous you are. And if no one's told you today that they love you, I love you. Have a beautiful week, everyone.
Peace out, you guys.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. Jeff.